Naaman, a commander in the army of the king of Aram, Syria. He was healed of leprosy after washing in the Jordan River. This story is found in the Old Testament in the book of 2 Kings, specifically in 2 Kings chapter 5 verse 119. Here is the story of Naaman and his maidservant. Nestled within Syria's picturesque scenery, characterized by her quiet diligence, dedicatedly fulfilled her duties in the heart of Naaman's home. Her real name is unknown, so I'll call her maidservant M here. Her days were filled with simple chores in the house of her master, Naaman, a mighty commander in the Syrian army. M's family had known servitude for generations, and she, too, found herself in the role of a servant. One day, while M carried out her tasks, she overheard whispers about Naaman's illness. He was suffering from the serious disease of leprosy, and the burden of pain was visible on his worried face. Despite being a servant, M had a compassionate heart. As Naaman struggled with leprosy, a sense of hopelessness engulfed him. His wife shared in his sorrow, and they tried various methods to find a cure. They sought advice from different healers, explored traditional and unconventional remedies, all in an effort to heal Naaman. Despite their persistent efforts, a solution remained elusive, leaving them in a constant state of hopeful desperation. As she tended to her duties, a flicker of inspiration sparked within her. She remembered tales of the prophets and the power of the God of Israel. With a glimmer of hope, she approached Naaman's wife and shared the stories of healing that her people revered. Perhaps, M suggested, there is a prophet in Samaria who can bring healing to your husband. Our God is one of miracles. Word reached Naaman's ears, and despite being a commander of an enemy army, a flicker of desperation led him to consider this foreign god. Naaman, burdened by leprosy, embarked on a journey to Samaria with a letter from his king and a caravan laden with gifts. As Naaman neared the dwelling of the prophet Elisha, hope surged within him. His expectations were centered not only on meeting the prophet, but also on the prospect of experiencing a miraculous healing that would bring profound relief to his suffering. But Elisha didn't emerge. Instead, a messenger bore instructions. Go, wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan River, and your flesh will be restored. A surge of anger engulfed Naaman. The Jordan River? Why not the mighty rivers of Damascus in my country? Pride welled up, ready to drown out the voice of humility. Amidst this turmoil, it was M's voice, the echo of a servant girl from his own household, that reverberated in his mind. Finally, Naaman yielded. He stood in the Jordan, and with each immersion, the waters worked a miracle. His leprosy vanished, replaced by skin as pure as a child's. Naaman, humbled and transformed, returned to his household, forever changed. By the faith of a maidservant who dared to speak of a God who transcends borders and prejudices. And so, in the quiet village, M continued her days as a maidservant. Unseen by kings and commanders, yet in the tapestry of divine providence. Her small act of compassion and suggestion had played a role in a miraculous healing that echoed through the ages. 7 Lessons from Naaman's story. The story of Naaman provides several valuable lessons. Here are 7 lessons from Naaman's story, including the significance of the servant maid's role. 1. God's ways are higher. Naaman expected a grand gesture or ritual for his healing, but God's plan was simpler. The story teaches that God's ways are often beyond human comprehension, and his methods may seem unconventional. 2. Humility is essential for healing. Naaman's initial pride almost cost him his healing. When he humbled himself and followed Elisha's instructions, he experienced restoration. The story emphasizes the importance of humility in receiving God's blessings. 3. Faith and obedience go hand in hand. Naaman's healing required both faith and obedience. True faith is demonstrated through obedient actions, even when God's instructions may seem unconventional. 4. God's healing knows no boundaries. Naaman, a foreigner and enemy commander, was healed by the God of Israel. This emphasizes the universal nature of God's grace and healing, which extends to all people, regardless of nationality or background. 5. The role of servanthood. The servant girl's suggestion played a crucial role in Naaman's healing. This underscores the significance of humble servants in God's plan and how they can be instruments of blessing. 6. God can use unlikely messengers. The fact that a young Israelite servant, someone in a seemingly powerless position, played a pivotal role in Naaman's healing demonstrates that God can use anyone, regardless of their status, to accomplish his purposes. 7. Overcoming prejudice and pride. Naaman initially rejected the idea of washing in the Jordan River due to his prejudice and pride. The story teaches the importance of overcoming such barriers to receive God's blessings. It reminds us that God's love extends to all people, and even those considered enemies can be recipients of his grace. The story of Naaman is rich with spiritual insights, teaching us about God's character, the importance of faith and obedience, and the transformative power of his healing. 5 Virtues of Maidservant. Within the biblical account of Naaman's healing, the maidservant emerges as a beacon of virtue, embodying qualities that transcend the boundaries of her servile role. Her compelling narrative unfolds a tale of compassion, faithfulness, and courage, demonstrating how a seemingly insignificant figure can wield profound influence through timeless virtues. 1. Compassion. Maidservant demonstrated deep compassion for her master, Naaman, despite being a servant and despite the enmity between their nations. 2. Faithfulness. In her humble role, maidservant faithfully carried out her duties, serving her master with diligence. 3. Empathy. She empathized with Naaman's suffering, recognizing the humanity beyond the titles of master and servant. 4. Humility. Despite her lowly status, maidservant humbly offered a suggestion that would ultimately lead to Naaman's healing. 5. Courage. It took courage for maidservant to approach Naaman's wife with a suggestion that involved seeking help from the God of Israel. The maidservant's virtues shine brightly in her humble service, as she exemplifies empathy, humility, and wisdom. The story of a maidservant whose actions ripple with enduring significance, reminding us that even the seemingly small acts of compassion and courage can create lasting impact.